So first off, let me say that the Ubisoft presentation was unbelievable. In my opinion, hands down the best so far that we've seen in E3, especially, when you're going to talk about how long they were showing and, what kind of came out of it. I think that they were head and shoulders above everybody. But I do have to say, Aisha Tyler, who was the host, just a small mention. I love her on Archer, and I think that show's hilarious. Was not a huge fan of her, kind of hosting Ubisoft. I think it was just, a kind of, as one of our news writers here at Pixelbit, said, I don't care attitude, and it kind of did equate almost to the lowest common denominator sense of humor, which, E3, as much as it is for fans, it's also, it's a business conference, and it should be kind of held with some kind of level of class. And I'm all for being funny, but just if you're gonna try to be funny, and I just didn't see it. But you know what? This wasn't about her. It was about the games, and they killed it on the games. They really did. I missed the beginning, which was Just Dance 4. I guess they had Flow Rider on. Honestly, I didn't see it, so I can't give you my impression on it. But you can definitely go down and check out the links below, because, like I said, everything. Will be in the links below for you to check out kind of what you're interested in, and if that's what floats your boats, we definitely have, or floats your boat, sorry, we definitely have some information on that on the site. Next, though, was Far Cry 3, and I got a chance to play some of the multiplayer at PAX, and the game controls very nicely, very smooth, and what I love about this game is so many shooters are so dreary to look at. I mean, it's just, brown, mesh color, there's no color palette whatsoever. But Far Cry is the exact opposite. It looks like you're tripping when you're playing the game. The colors are so vibrant, they're all over the place, and it's just a fun environment to be in. I mean, or as fun as it can be when you're getting shot and you're out in the wilderness, fighting for your very survival. So everything about this was beautiful. I mean, I really dug it. There was one ending instance, for the trailer that they showed, where the player was actually going through a hallucination, and they show, the antagonist there kind of egging him on, and he's about to kill him, and then at the very last second, it kind of fades out. It's somebody else. So, really looks interesting, and definitely something to pay attention to. They actually showed more of this in other press conferences as well, but I'm just going to get it all done now because we're here. They're actually adding multiplayer co-op to the series, which was announced in the Sony press conference, but I'll just announce it now for the sake of convenience for everybody. So there's a lot with this game. I think it offers a lot, and the fully explorable open world single player, the multiplayer co-op, and then the multiplayer. This is a all-around shooter that feels a little bit different from your average tactical shooter, but still kind of has that same flair and intensity and all the set pieces and the things that people really enjoy from the first-person genre. Splinter Cell Blacklist was also shown on the Ubisoft. This was actually also shown in the Microsoft press conference as well, but I decided to talk about it here because, it is an Ubisoft game, and Microsoft does not have exclusive rights to it. So again, it's just another one of those titles that, while it's great, is not just for them. So, like the previous Splinter Cell game, this seems to be much more action-oriented than the original titles in the franchise, where it was more about stealth. Stealth was definitely still a big part of this game, and actually in the Microsoft press conference they show a little instance of where he's sneaking around, and they use the voice commands with the Kinect to kind of grab someone's attention so they can throw them off the ledge. You'll be able to do that though, no matter what system you're playing on, maybe not with Kinect, but with a button or something like that. So the stealth function is there, but immediately afterwards it went into a huge set piece and a big firefight, so it's not like 100% stealth completion will be an option. There's going to be action set pieces, and there's going to be, those big gunfights that kind of every action title, especially shooters, seem to kind of have today, which is, unfortunate if you're an original Splinter Cell fan, but I don't think it's going to deter from this title. This title still looks beautiful, and definitely something, worth to check out, even though it's not a huge surprise that it's on its way. Another thing that was, this was huge, and this was something I think a lot of people have wanted to see. Rayman Origins was certainly a title that we here at Pixelbit were rooting for. if you saw that podcast we did a few months back when we were talking about the upcoming holiday rush, and the titles are coming out, that was one of the things I was really fearful for, that they were going to get buried under the pressure of everything else on the way. Obviously Origins did pretty well, and now we have Rayman Legends on the way, and we get to see some Wii U gameplay. I believe this was the first thing we've seen for the Wii U, like the first thing we've really seen played on the Wii U, and it looks great. They did a demo with 3 different characters. They were talking about how character combos are going to be a big part of the gameplay. They showed different ways that characters' moves can interact with each other, and there are a number of different ways to solve the puzzles, fight enemies that are ahead of you. So, when you're coming to a platformer, it's all about puzzle solving and kind of thinking outside the box to kind of fix, and solve the problems that lie in front of you. And when there's different variations of how you can do stuff like that, it always makes for great gameplay. So you definitely want to pay attention to Rayman Legends. It's something that has a lot of potential, and it might just show, how the Wii U is going to be something that we should all care about in the future, or hopefully so. Who knows? We'll have more on that on tomorrow, or yesterday, or I don't even know how to do this with the days going on till tomorrow, but you know what I mean. We'll have more of that on day 2. The competitive player in me really loved that they showed some attention to esports, and they showed Shoot Mania, and this is a game that I had heard about. I knew it was streaming one day. I missed the stream, so I never got to see it, and I was excited to see this game. They brought out a bunch of pro Counter-Strike players, and they played the game, and graphically this game isn't going to blow your mind, but it was very reminiscent of Quake, just the way they're played with the jump pads and then the look of it and the feel of the railguns. What can I say? I'm excited for this game. I love games that are fast based on reaction time, and that's exactly what Shoot Mania is. I mean, I don't think I could do it justice unless you see it in action played by someone who's a lot better than me. So we'll definitely have a link below so you can go ahead and check out some of the gameplay for yourself. Assassin's Creed was shown, and I got to see a demo for this back when I went to PAX, and it just kind of blew me away. I mean, this game, everything about this game is interesting. I love the setting. I think it's something that has not been touched on enough in gaming. Beautiful, and just the gameplay looks to be so much smoother than anything they've had before. I mean, I think the Assassin's Creed series has always kind of been about smooth animations, almost feeling like you're watching a movie as you're playing, kind of that cinematic feel that we know from some other games. But there's always been that awkward, rigid kind of feel that breaks away from it. Not that it doesn't make for good gameplay, but it just doesn't give the smooth cinematic. When you're an assassin, you just want to feel kind of like you're suave and smooth when you're pulling it off. And they showed, in particular, one instance where they do an assassination and kind of a chain of events that link together to get to it. And it just looks so fluid and effortless that, it makes you want to pick up this gameplay and get good enough so you can pull something like that off. I'm sure it's not easy to do what they showed us, but it looked fantastic, and I couldn't even imagine the feel of enjoyment that you get from pulling it off. So another title that, I mean, really one of the things that I think is looking to be impressive here at E3, and definitely something that everybody's going to have their eye on. Some additional things that they showed that I was glad that they showed was, one of the instances was, this isn't like the other games where we have these big, tall buildings to scale. So, what are the climbing aspects going to be like? They showed them wading through the trees in the forest. And actually, the old classic Assassin's Creed look kind of with the New World flair that they have, looking a little bit more tan with hides and stuff like that, actually works pretty well. He looks kind of like a huntsman, and it fits in well considering he's wading through woods and stuff like that. It's actually passable, whereas I was kind of worried, with these white robes, like how is he going to fit in Revolution America? But it definitely works, and the kind of the tan hue that they give to the suit definitely makes it blend in nicely. And another thing that really stood out to me was there was an instance where he was doing like free climbing on this rock crevice. So there's going to still be a lot of climbing and platforming. That's going to be a big element in the game, and I think it actually seems a little more free than it used to be in the series. So I'm glad that they're keeping those elements, and the fact that we're, in Revolution America isn't going to deter from some of the better elements of the gameplay. And finally, one of the things that has excited me most in this first day was this new IP that was announced from Ubisoft. It kind of came out of nowhere. It is Watch Dogs. And what this is about is kind of just how much information we're releasing, putting on the internet. And this is actually a real problem that exists. I wrote an entire thesis on information privacy, with regards to the internet, and how I'm not even going to get into the boring details because we're here to talk about E3. But needless to say, it's a topic I've covered, and I think it's an amazing concept for a game because people are just clueless to how much information they release on the internet. Right now, I'm releasing information to you that I can never get back, but whatever cares. But yeah, back on point. I mean, it just seems like a great concept for a game, and just to give you some insight on like how they were displaying this, There's one instance where he's hacking with his phone into like databases and medical records for people around him. He finds out one of these people is HIV positive. Like, that's a pretty personal thing. It's pretty messed up to be displayed just by someone quickly going through their phone, but it kind of gives insight into this problem. And that looked to be, one of the bigger aspects of this game. From the beginning of when they showed the trailer and just some of the early gameplay, it looked really to be like a detective kind of game, where you're hacking for clues and you're trying to figure out stuff. But then it kind of shifted focus more to a gunfight. But it doesn't seem to be, it's not the over-the-top bullets flying all over the place. It's really tactical cover, limited gunfight, and then it kind of transferred back over into the more of the investigator hacking kind of feel. So it has a nice mix between those two things from what I've seen so far. Definitely going to have more details on this game for you as it goes on. I mean, honestly, Ubisoft just killed it. I mean, that's really all I can say. By far the most impressive conference we've seen we've seen at this point. It's just everything was worth talking about. Interesting, and as many painful jokes I had to sit through during that conference, it was worth it to see all the great game announcements that came through.